This is Alex Berger from Berger Law in Marquette, Michigan. I've posted a number of videos about marijuana impaired driving, but I want to post at least one about alcohol impaired driving. I have 5 tips for this one as well. Number 1, don't drive if you've had more than one drink. Number 2, do not tell the officer if you've drank, when you drank, where you're going, or where you're coming from. Number 3, do not consent to field sobriety tests. Number 4, do not agree to do a portable breath test on the side of the road. And number 5, usually do agree to the chemical blood test. Let me break these down a little bit. Number 1, don't drink to excess and drive. My rule is that if I've had more than one alcoholic drink, I do not drive afterwards. I think that's a great rule for everyone. It is very hard to tell with the way that they make, especially mixed drinks and high ABV craft beers, to have way more alcohol than you think you're having with 1 or 2 drinks. So just err on the side of caution. Don't drink more than one and then drive. Next, on to what to do if you are pulled over and the officer suspects alcohol impairment. One of the first things the officer is going to ask you if he smells alcohol, if you look like you're inebriated, is how much have you had to drink tonight? Politely refuse to answer. Just say, I'd prefer not to answer that. They're going to ask you where you're going to, where you're coming from. Politely refuse to answer. Do not be rude. Comply with the request for your driver's license to identify yourself and those sorts of things. But you do not have to tell them anything about what you've done wrong potentially. Exercise your constitutional right to remain silent. The officer may make it seem like you have to answer, but just politely say you'd prefer not to. This is similar to the next one, number 3, which is do not comply with field sobriety tests. I've posted about this before. You do not have to do field sobriety tests. They are simply a tool that the officer is going to use against you to try to arrest you. You should politely decline to do them. If the officer feels like you're intoxicated at that point, they were going to arrest you anyway, and they will. And if the officer doesn't have enough, they should let you go. So next, and along the same lines, after you refuse the field sobriety tests, or if you do them, the officer should ask you to do a PBT, a preliminary or portable breath test. You should refuse that. It is a couple $100 fine, but it does not affect your driver's license. And that evidence is potentially difficult to overcome later, so it's just best to refuse that, but you will get a fine. Next, and this one is more complicated, and I hope to post another video about it, but the officer will ask you if you agree to a chemical blood test. They'll read you a write sheet about that. Usually my advice to people is to consent to the chemical blood test. That may either be a big breathalyzer back at the station or a blood test at the hospital. But basically, if you refuse that, it will probably lead to a suspension of your driver's license for 1 year, which you can overcome, but it's difficult. And then additionally, if you refuse that, the officer is going to get on the phone, get a search warrant from a magistrate that's available, and then they're going to force you to give the chemical blood test. And there's a lot more to unpack there, but for the general person that's facing this choice whether or not to consent to a chemical blood test or not, it's the best bet to consent to it, because the alternative is they'll get it anyway and you'll have a lot more headaches. So again, to recap, don't drive after you've drank more than one drink. Do not tell the officer if you've been drinking, when you've been drinking, where you're going, where you're coming from. Number 3, do not agree to the field sobriety tests. Number 4, do not consent to the portable breath test. And number 5, usually do consent to the chemical blood test. Thank you.